My friends Nathan, Ruben, and I went on a mission to California that ended in the most hilarious event I have ever experienced in my life. So, skipping to the end because the whole trip is a long story. It was around 7 p.m. in San Jose, California, which is where we stayed at most of the trip. Nathan and I had to take an emergency flight back home to Minneapolis because we failed our main mission, which I will talk about in a different video. And we pretty much also ran out of money, so we decided to fly back home. Ruben had left before us the morning before this flight, but he will be mentioned in the second story on a different video. Don't worry about him. He'll come back. He'll make another cameo. Nathan's dad, we'll call him Miguel. I couldn't think of a different name, so that's what we'll call him, Miguel. He was the person that pretty much drove us around the whole state. So whenever we had to go anywhere, we would ask him to take us. He drove a truck. He would always take us wherever we wanted. He was really cool. So the three of us were going around San Jose getting food that night. We wanted to try out whatever we could before our flight back because we didn't get to do much of what we wanted to do while we were there. We decided to get sushi from a restaurant that Miguel recommended us to try. So we picked it up. But before we started eating, we chose to buy one more consumable to try to help us enjoy the sushi more. I'm talking about weed, aka Mary Jane, aka the devil's lettuce. Why wouldn't we try Cali weed? I mean, we were used to Minnesota weed. We wanted to try the good stuff, while we were there. So Miguel drove us to a dispensary that we randomly found. We wanted to get a bunch of things to try. I remember me wanting to try some edibles, maybe some gummy bears that they had there, cookies. I heard that they had a bunch of stuff in California for me to try. But with the money we needed to buy our plane tickets, we were not going to have enough money to go on a weed shopping spree like we wanted. We ended up buying 3.5 grams of a hybrid flower. I do not remember how much we paid, but it was all we could afford. The drive from where we were in San Jose and the airport in San Francisco was about a half hour. So we had enough time to roll like 2 fat blunts with the flour we got. We finished rolling the blunts, so we started smoking one as we started driving towards the airport. We also started eating the sushi, which I have to say was the most delicious sushi I have ever had. And it makes sense. We were close to the ocean, so they get fresh fish to make it. We were about 10 minutes into driving, and as we were passing around the blunt between the three of us, the weed really hit me hard out of nowhere. I am not kidding when I say I have never felt so fucking high in my life. I had to tell Nathan I was done smoking because I was way too high. Miguel kept driving the truck and smoking the second blunt with Nathan. Meanwhile, I was sitting in the back with my window open because I needed fresh air hitting my face. But I was in a whole nother galaxy trying to keep myself on planet Earth. We finally arrived at the airport. We got our luggage out of the truck and said our goodbyes to Miguel. We entered the airport. And this is where the story becomes a comedy. Nathan and I go inside, and we go straight to the front desk check-in area. I forgot to mention that this was on December 1st of 2020, meaning we were going through the pandemic, which at the time was still fresh and a huge scary deal. We had to wait in a long line, and everybody was staying 6 feet apart. That's some PTSD for you whenever you hear someone say 6 feet apart. Sorry for scaring you. But we were slowly moving through the line, and as we were going through it, I remember I looked up, looked around, and realized that pretty much everyone in the line was staring at us. At first, I thought it was just a paranoia from me being beyond high, but I kept noticing that people were still staring at us. I don't know if Nathan noticed, but I was in my head thinking, wait, does everyone know we're high? How the fuck does everyone know we're high? We're not acting like idiots or anything. I was seriously confused. But after what felt like an eternity, we finally made it to the front desk. We had already bought our tickets online, so we thought it was going to be fast. It was going to be a fast check-in process. But for some reason, after we showed the front desk attendant our tickets on my phone, he started asking us a million questions out of nowhere. I remember him asking things like, is this your first time flying? Do you know what to do when you get on your flight? Do you know where you're going? Do you know where you are? He was asking us a million fucking questions, and in my head, again, I'm questioning everything. Wait, how the fuck does he know we're high? There's no fucking way he knows we're high. But why else is he asking us a bunch of stupid questions? I felt like I was being interrogated for committing a crime before getting on my flight. The dude finally finished giving us his monologue to become a detective. He let us through to go to TSA. We thankfully went through security with no problem, even though I was high. But we find our flight, we sit and wait for about 30 minutes to board the plane. While we were waiting to board, I was going through my backpack to make sure I didn't forget anything. And as I was going through the front pocket, I pulled out a McDonald's apple pie box that had like 3 grams worth of weed. I'm not kidding. I had completely forgotten that like 2 days earlier, I saved some of Miguel's weed he gave us in my backpack. I showed Nathan, and we both started freaking out because we just smuggled a fucking drug through airport security without noticing. I'm not going to lie, it was much easier than I thought I could have imagined. I did not know it was that easy to smuggle weed through airport security. That was fascinating to me. We finally boarded the plane, and as we were walking through the plane aisle to get to our seats, I looked up at everyone who had boarded before us, and again I realized that people were staring at us, and I'm in my head again thinking, okay, what the fuck, there's no way everyone in here knows we're high. This is some fucking bullshit. It's not like I have a sign on me saying we smoked before coming here. We finally get to our seats. Nathan and I are sat in the same row but on opposite sides of the row. As soon as we sit, next to me sits an older black woman, which I am thankful I got sat next to, because she was like a ray of sunshine compared to everyone else in this damn plane. She arrived to sit next to me and greets me. I greet her back. As soon as she sits, she said one thing, the one quote that I will never in my life ever forget. She sits, I'm not fucking kidding. She sits, looks at me and says, "Oh, you guys smell like you had a fun time." And then it fucking hit me. Oh my fucking god. Everyone knows we're high because we stink of weed. I was I was fucking I didn't know what to think at the time. As soon as I realized what she said, I looked over to Nathan, and he's making the same face I'm making because he heard what she said to me. Never in my life have I felt so embarrassed for realizing how much I smell of weed, but at the same time I felt happy because the lady that told me that I smell like weed was genuinely so nice and sweet to me. I felt like she was my grandmother that flight. I have no idea where she is today. If she watches this, she'll probably know I'm talking about her. But wherever you are, I love you and I hope you're having such a great life. But yeah, hours later we arrived home, and yeah, that's that. See ya.